This is a fan-generated show. If you would like to support us, please go to jamieglazov.com, and also don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. All your support is greatly appreciated. Jihadist Psychopath by Dr. Jamie Glazov. I will tell you as an expert on Sharia, as a former child bride who has suffered and faced my own jihadi psychopath, I want you to go and order this book on Amazon.com or go to jamieglazov.com. Get a copy for yourself. You know why? Because you need to be equipped with the knowledge to fight our enemy so you can save your daughters and your granddaughters from future of Islam.
Good evening. Welcome to the Jamie Glazov Moment. Tonight, Pope Francis says, quote, "Let's accuse ourselves." My friends, in a recent statement, I guess among many statements, but the recent statement of our Pope, or of the Pope, he has said, quote, "Let's not accuse Muslims, let's accuse ourselves," end of quote. Now, the context to this, the Pope was making a statement in which he compared Islam's death penalty for apostasy, which is mandated by Muhammad, and therefore by all the schools of Islamic jurisprudence. He made a statement comparing that to the post-Christian hospitals in the West not allowing Christians to object to euthanasia. And he was ascribing this disallowance of Christians to object to euthanasia to Christianity somehow. Just, you got to try to wrap your head around this. Now, Robert Spencer, again, who's reported on this at Jihad Watch, he does incredible work. One of the leading heroes of our time, leading scholars of our time. You should always be going to Jihad Watch, as I obviously do. Now, I credit this show also to his blog on this. And when he wrote about this, he's reminded us that the death penalty for apostasy in Islam is part of Islamic law. It is mandated by Muhammad. It's based on the Quran. For instance, the Quran, chapter 4, verse 89. Also in the Hadiths, for instance, Sahih Bukhari, 9:84-57. Now, not allowing Christians to object to euthanasia isn't Christianity. That's just what some people are doing in our society, and it's contrary to Christianity. And the Pope is somehow making an equivalency here. It's hard to know what to do with this, except we know that it's very telling. We know what the Pope is up to by this time. We know what side he's on. We know that he's not naive, he's not stupid, he's not an idiot. It's all fully calculated. It's just that he's chosen what side he's on. Now, I would say that it would be understandable if he said what he said in a certain context. For us Christians, yes, we understand the notion of accusing ourselves as well, often, right? And in terms of the situation in the world, perhaps, this could be understandable in the context, perhaps, that we need to also accuse ourselves, let's say, if we are sinning in general. Because if, as Christians, we understand that when we sin, now look, I'm not an expert here, I'm not this great theologian, but I have a little bit of understanding of this mystery and the enigma of how this works, that somewhere as Christians, when we're sinning, we are fueling the devil's work. We're fueling Satan. So when we sin, we let Satan in. We empower Satan. So I would understand somewhere where, let's say, if somehow, you know, when totalitarianism rises or when there's wars, and again, I'm not an expert on this, but somewhere as Christians, we know that this is also connected to our sins. And if we're sinning, we're empowering evil forces in the world somewhere. So I get that. This is a mystery. It would take theologians to discuss this. But as Christians, we may understand that, hey, we perhaps need to stop our sins as well in order to perhaps not enforce or empower evil in the world. Something like that, we would understand if maybe a Christian leader had said something along those lines. But that's not what this is. That's not what the Pope was saying in this case. He was saying that we need to accuse ourselves in terms of the context here that he brought up that I've already mentioned about disallowing people not to have euthanasia and somehow that Christians are responsible for this. So we should not say anything critical somewhere about Islamic apostasy laws and Islam overall. This is some kind of very bizarre evil equivalency the Pope is engaged in. And there's clearly something that he's been doing that is exonerating Islam. In this particular case, he is insulting and really disrespecting, to begin with, the memory of all the apostates that have lost their lives at the hands of Islam. Just tremendous disrespect, just an awful thing that he would be saying, because he's exonerating Islam somewhere in this. And he's also criticizing Christianity and Christians for something that Christians and Christianity is not even doing. If Christians, quote unquote, are doing something along the lines of euthanasia, it's because they're being unchristian. It's not because New Testament verses support them in their euthanasia, let's say, that they might be practicing, in the way that Islamic texts support the killing of apostates. This Pope, wow, accuse ourselves. This is no surprise. Once again, the Pope has been involved, as we know, in trying to empower and enable, for instance, the invasion of Western Europe by Muslim migrants and by those who believe in Sharia. He's made statements against capitalism. I don't know, have you? I haven't. Maybe I missed it. Has he been saying something on behalf of Asia Bibi, the Christian lady that's still rotting in a Pakistani prison in Pakistan, or in a place of hiding somewhere? She's still rotting in Pakistan. When has the Pope said anything about Asia Bibi and all the Christians that she represents that are suffering under Sharia? When has the Pope, have I missed it, said something on behalf of Christians being massacred in Nigeria every day right now? Have I missed it? Has he been saying something on behalf of Christians that are the victims of genocide and throughout many parts of the world, in the Middle East and Africa, etc.? He hasn't said a word about Islam. And to the best of my memory, no warnings about communism, about the past in terms of what communism perpetrated, and maybe even to say a word today about people like Bernie Sanders or Ocasio-Cortez or somewhere else, about people that are trying to bring back this evil ideology. Has he said anything about that? No, he's very busy telling Christians to accuse themselves and telling all of us to accuse ourselves. Or I don't know who's supposed to be accusing themselves, but of course it's not the followers of Sharia law. I just wanted to end this. When Pope Francis, when you say that we should accuse ourselves, I wanted to finish with this. 8-year-old Martin Richard is not here to accuse himself. He died at the hands of the Tsarnaev brothers in the Boston Marathon massacre, who were following Islam's commands when they perpetrated that massacre. Those commands that the Tsarnaev brothers were following, Pope Francis, you'll never, ever speak about. We know that. But you tell us to accuse ourselves. 8-year-old Martin Richard died that day at the Boston Marathon massacre. He doesn't have the luxury of being here to accuse himself. We shall see you on the next Jamie Glazov moment. Good night.